Network. I'm Nick Pedone. He is Daniel Booby Gibson. Booby, what's going on?
What's going on, my guy? What's happening, man? The vibes are immaculate right now, baby.
We got a remote Booby today. So, Booby, tell the people where you're joining the show from today.
Listen, man, Cleveland is home. Cleveland is home. But I got to go home this weekend. Actually, Keisha, DJ's mom, Keisha Cole, she had a performance here Friday night. So I was able to bring DJ to Houston during the basketball season. It's so hard to get back to family. I was able to come home and see the family. He was able to see his grandparents, watch the show. So the shades today are for a purpose, not just style reasons, man. I had a great weekend, man.
That's awesome. Great to hear. Great to hear too for DJ that he got to go see his mom perform. That's awesome.
You know what, man? The toughest part, I guess, the part that people don't get to see is some of the sacrifices that you have to make during an NBA season when you're not in your home base. So leaving Los Angeles, which is where DJ lives, all year long, man, I'm with the Cavs. I'm with the Charge. I'm getting these guys ready for the year. And so he misses out on a lot. So these opportunities now that I have more room to scout and move around and be a dad, I value these moments, man. And we got to hang out, go to the mall, go to the show. So it was a great weekend for DJ too, man.
That's all. What does he? Is he at the age yet, Booby, where he's really looking to tear it up in the mall, or like what's he like in the mall?
You know what, man? DJ is like me, man. Just super chill.
Feeling.
Don't really he ain't really, the style ain't there. He don't really care about dripping right now. You know what I'm saying? All he care about is hooping, which is another great thing.
That's good. Yeah.
All he want to do is shoot that basketball. I'm trying to get him to go to the hole a little more right now. But right now, as long as he's shooting, we good, man. So he ain't really into fashion like that, but he's all about basketball.
It sounds familiar. Apple doesn't fall far at all from right there. So you know what we're going to do. We're going to get you guys some basketball talk today on the show. We're going to discuss the biggest headlines pertaining to our Cleveland Cavaliers. Then we're going to take a look at some of the top stories around the NBA, other sports. We got March Madness in the heat of things right now. We're then going Booby for three. We will rank the remaining teams in the Sweet 16. So Booby, you got to get your college notes ready there.
I got them on deck. I've been scouting crazy for this March Madness.
Perfect. And then we're gonna get into some worst takes without Roth. So I think the internet skates free another week. Booby, how's your bracket looking too? That's another thing I wanted to ask.
Busted. Nah, it's actually not that bad this time around. My champion is still hanging around. I went left. I did two brackets, but I went with Carolina so they still hanging in there. And I had a couple sleeper picks. So I get to jump on some of these teams because I get to watch some of these players. So what's the kid from Oakland? I forget his name, but he had an amazing game. But I got to see him play against Cleveland State this year. I got to see him play against some teams locally. So I already knew what he was bringing, so it was good to see him have a moment in March Madness.
Yeah, so you were hip to the Jack Golke hype ahead of America.
Golke. Man, I went to the game. I watched him play Cleveland State. He played the exact same way. He was running around the court, just letting that thing fly from every angle. So it was good to get on that big stage and be able to show the world what he was capable of. That was pretty cool to see.
I was thinking of you watching him play because they said he took like less than 5 2-point shots throughout the entire season. And I was like, I know Booby had to have been a fan of that.
Definitely a fan of it, but hold on, nigga. I get on that rim a little bit too now. I got a little bounce, but yeah, he was letting that thing fly. More reminiscent of me in the rookie-sophomore game when I didn't even touch the paint at all. I was just letting threes fly all night.
Exactly. All right, we're going to get some Cavs headlines. Booby's going to calm everybody down like he normally does with our Cavs. We're hitting that next. Don't go anywhere. More Booby's World right after this. Welcome on back into Booby's World right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Pedone. He is Daniel Booby Gibson. Booby, we got to do this on the show more than I would like to, it feels like recently, but you do a good job of it, of calming the people down about our Cleveland Cavaliers. You know the pitchforks are out after a loss against the Miami Heat in South Beach. Tough place to play. Booby, I'll let you just take the floor and calm down the crazy streets of Cavs Twitter.
Long season, man. Long season. We getting our guys back on the floor. We're gradually getting our lineups back together. And then, I mean, it's Miami. You know what I'm saying? And we like to have a good time in Miami. But overall, I just know we're still trending in the right direction. I think Ev got back. You know, he's still gonna work himself back into rhythm, and all these guys will now start to get back into their familiar rotations. And I don't think it's a time to panic. I think it's the perfect time to be retooling as you head into the playoffs, because like we said before, we do not want to be peaking right now. We do not want to be on a 15-game winning streak right now, where you want to be plugging holes and finding out what you need to fix and improve on. So you go into the playoffs with a chip on your shoulder. You go into the playoffs with something to prove. So I think that's the space that we're in right now, getting our lineups back together and getting our players back healthy.
Booby, we hear the talk all the time of the South Beach flu when teams go down there to Miami. Is there any truth to what happens the night before teams play the Heat?
Hey, listen, man, it's a real thing. Everybody that's watching this show has been to Miami for a vacation or something of the sort. You know what I mean? We go down there to have a good time. And it's business. So guys, we are prepared, but you can't help it. You're gonna go out, you're gonna have a good time, and you just hope that the next day you're ready to play. And I'm gonna share something with you guys. I had some of my best games after some of my best nights. So it ain't no excuse. You know what I mean? Sometimes it makes you lock in a little more when you know if they find out you went out, you might get in a little trouble.
That is too funny. Booby, you know, a big piece of what this next week and a half, 2 weeks, is going to look like for our Cleveland Cavaliers is just getting guys back healthy. That's it, man. And how weird is it, though, when they have to piecemeal this thing together? Because, like, okay, early this week, you see Evan Mobley come back into the fold, and then we're going to see Donovan Mitchell, still waiting on an official update on Max Strus, but kind of going one by one. It feels like, you know, like you're going to get Mobley acclimated and back into everything, and then Mitchell comes back, and then that's going to be another adjustment, and then Strus is coming back, and that's going to be another adjustment. Feels like it could be a long week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of adjusting for these Cavs. Is that actually how it goes behind the scenes too?
Absolutely, man, and that's why I said stay cool, stay calm, because that's what you have to do in a long season, man. Injuries happen. These things happen throughout a year. And what we've learned watching our Cavs is early on when these guys got hurt, all these guys got these opportunities to get reps and get better and get rhythm and get prepared for the end of the season. And it's no different now. These guys are still getting reps. We'll still need all of these guys when it comes playoff time. So for them right now, just keep taking it day by day. And whatever lineup is out there on the floor, we continue to work and try to improve. But like you said, there's going to be some bumps in the road. There's going to be some hiccups. There's going to be some losses. But all we can hope for as Cavs fans is that we can, by the end of the season, we can get all our guys healthy and we have a few games under our belt together to build some of that chemistry and camaraderie going into the postseason. And I think we'll be fine. I think that the injuries have given us the time to build all the entire roster out and have everybody ready to play.
How many games, Booby, do you think it takes, like in your ideal world? I guess maybe a dumb question, right? Because you obviously wish everybody was healthy right now to start building that chemistry and that momentum going into the playoffs now. But in your dream world, with the situation that the Cavs are in now, how many games do you think they need to get back to full strength and start building on that chemistry before round one?
I just say 1 or 2, man.
Okay.
Just get, because what the behind the scenes piece that you mentioned is these guys will be practicing together as well. So they'll be able to practice together and get some of that rhythm. And then all you want to do is get on the floor and like work some of the kinks out. Like, oh yeah, I'm used to Ev being on top of the rim, or I'm used to Don taking that shot, or I'm used to J.A. rolling to the basket to dunk the ball. So it's like what you have to just get on the floor and just see guys in their natural positions and just get back used to playing. It doesn't take much time, especially on a team that we have where I feel like the chemistry's been there all season when we have our guys on the floor. And I just think it won't change. These guys know who each other are. They play. It won't be their first time playing together. It'll just be the sense, the familiarity of getting back on the court close to the end of the season and just, getting back into your roles.
And to that point too, it is the main four, the key four, if you will, of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen that played together last year in the playoffs. They went through all that together. Karis LeVert, another guy that was key piece that went through that. It's really the newer guys, Niang and Strus, getting them kind of on board for the playoff push. But yeah, like you said, I'm confident that the mainstay guys are comfortable enough already before all the injuries happen that they're going to be okay once one another gets back on the floor.
Absolutely, man. We added those guys, the Strus and the Niangs, because they don't need the ball. You don't have to run plays for them. They know how to be good teammates. They know how to impact winning without having to be the main attraction. So like you said, we got our core four. When we get our core four back healthy, plugging those guys in just like we did at the beginning of the year, I think it'll be seamless. And I'm just looking forward to a good run come this postseason.
Booby, another thing that fans are talking about here in Cleveland is the seeding conversation. And I wanted to get your take on how important seeding is for the playoffs. They're currently, at the time that we're recording this, they're a half game up on the New York Knicks. They're a full game up on the Orlando Magic with a really tough West Coast trip coming up. Do you think that the seeding is that important? Is that something that they are monitoring? Like, how does that kind of work for, the guys on a day in, day out basis?
I don't think as a team we care. You know what I mean? I feel like you show up and you play wherever you are. But I just think overall you do want to be the favorite seed, right? You do want to have the home court advantage. So your supporting cast has that home court advantage because those bench guys normally play better at home. So you want to have that option going into the playoffs. But seeding, I think matchups, sometimes there's teams that you just match up better with. So that could come into play. But I think overall, you just want to be 1, 2, 3. You don't want to be 4, but 1, 2, 3, or 4. You want to be one of the top seeds. You want a team to have to beat you at home. So I think that'll be the biggest thing coming down the stretch. Let's not fall to 5 or 6 and then have to be a team that has to go take one on the road in order to win a series, because we all know how tough that could be come playoff time.
And you've talked about it on the show before. I just want to bring it up again, reiterating that importance, especially throughout your Cavs career and your Cavs playoff career, of having those big time moments happen in Cleveland, and getting the crowd behind you for those key moments and those key games means everything, right?
Man, Nick, that game 6 don't happen without those Cleveland Cavalier fans behind me. You know what I mean? Bron, we had Bron go into Detroit and get it done for us because that's just who he is. But like I said before, just having that home, that the comfort of your home fans and a gym that you've been shooting in all year in the playoffs, it means something, man. It means something. So I think you work all year to put yourself in a position where you are a favorite seed. And so that's the reason why, man. You feel like you got the fans behind you, and it's tough to win on the road in the playoffs, man. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Yeah, I don't care what seed or what record you're going into the playoffs with. It's just tough to win.
Absolutely. I want to go through, Booby, some of the specific games that we'll be watching this week for our Cavs on Friday against the 76ers. They're coming back from their own West Coast trip now, and they'll be back in Philly. This one is actually in Cleveland. Philly's 10-15 since Joel Embiid went down. It's so
that's
dumb.
The part that's scary. That's the part that's scary for me, Nick. No, I'm just saying that the Philly is scary because do we know if Joel will be back? Do we know if he's going to be there for the playoffs? So these guys may fall down to 6, 7, and then be playing with Joel Embiid, who had them at the number as the 1, 2, or 3 seed in the East. So that team is a little scary to if they fall to like 8 or 7 and have to play one of the top teams in the East, because I feel like with Joel, they are one of the top teams in the East.
And that's a game that I would really like to see the Cavs win, especially when you take a peek down their schedule, with some of the more difficult West Coast games. Would love to steal one on Friday in Cleveland against Philly with no Embiid. That would be a big win for our Cavs. And then, Booby, we take a look at that West Coast trip in Denver against the Nuggets, Nikola Jokic. Man, what that dude just wreaks havoc on every team. Denver's won 14 of their last 16 games. Cavs beat the Nuggets, though, back in November.
Talk about home court advantage, Nick. You don't want to go run up in that altitude, man. That thing, that your chest close up on you for that first 5 minutes of the game. It's one of the toughest places to play, man. And them West Coast trips, whoo, they tough. They're tough. You go out there and you normally play against some of the top 5 teams on the West. And every team, every game on the Western Conference right now is very important. Like these guys are trying to stay out of the play-in. They trying to be the favorite seeds on the West. So each team is bringing their best punch every night. So it'll be tough coming down the stretch, but it'll prepare you for the playoffs because I feel like you'll have some playoff intensity in throughout each of these games all the way through. And to jump back to that Philadelphia game, they came in here and got us in Cleveland without Embiid last time. So, it's a little revenge game for us to kind of start to lock in and let those guys know that they don't want no smoke with Cleveland. So you don't want to lose 2 to them without Embiid.
All right, talking about this upcoming West Coast trip, you got the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz, Phoenix Suns, Lakers, then Clippers. Brutal 5-game stretch. Booby, but like you said, if they could find a way to scrap together any sort of wins, any sort of chemistry and camaraderie with these guys coming back, we've heard stories that these West Coast trips could be the most valuable thing to happen to teams because it builds guys together. And this happening right before the playoffs, could it turn to be a good thing for our Cavs?
There you have it, Nick. Is the perfect time. And those 5 teams that you named will be coming to play. So you go on the road, and it's just you and your guys in these hostile arenas against these opposing teams and fans, and you are right. That is when you build camaraderie because it's just you guys. All you have is each other in these moments, and that's when guys make the big plays and have the big games, and then you get back in the locker room, and it's just y'all, and y'all excited about a win. There's nothing like some roadkill, especially when you get on that West Coast against, again, these teams that are fighting for playoff position. All it's going to do for us is prepare us for that playoff push. So I'm hoping that we can get some of the rest of our guys on the floor during this time because it'll be a great time to build our players up and get prepared for that postseason run. It'll be a perfect time.
Alrighty, straight ahead, Booby. We are updating our brackets. We're talking all things tournament and March Madness. Don't go anywhere. More Booby's World right after this. Welcome on back into Booby's World right here on the Big Play Network. And Booby, I got to ask you this. Why the hell did I pick Kentucky to play in my championship game? My bracket was busted day one, man.
Whoa.
Day one.
Whoa.
My bracket was just gone.
I guess we know who ain't been out here doing scouts and running around watching college basketball. Nah, you can't go wrong with Kentucky, man. But the only fear that I have for those kids is they're so young, man. And when you've added the 5th-year seniors to play against these kids coming straight out of high school, that March Madness is going to be tough. I think John Calipari said it. He might have to go into the portal and add a few of those seniors and guys that can, back up all this great talent that he's bringing into Kentucky. But that's a tough one for you. I'm a little saddened too, my man. I mentioned that my bracket wasn't completely busted, but my horns went down. They went down. I definitely had them winning that game against my former coach, Rick Barnes. So it was fun for me to watch that game.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what was that like watching your old coach against Texas? Kind of weird.
I wanted to beat him so bad. I love Rick Barnes, and he's an amazing coach, and he got those guys running. But it's crazy the way that it's set up now because the entire coaching staff for the Longhorns now was his assistant. So his assistant coach is the head coach. So that had to be tough for those guys to play against each other. But yeah, I'm a little hurt. I thought the Horns were gonna pull it out. I feel like we had a tough schedule this year, but we danced and we had our fun. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the tourney, though.
And then the women's side, there's been a little bit of craziness, a little bit of madness, if you will, too, on that women's bracket. We saw, sadly, our Ohio State women's Buckeyes bowed out a little bit early to Duke. But, I mean, you still got South Carolina in there. You still got Iowa on the women's side. Booby, what are you thinking on that side of things?
Man, we spoke about it, man. I'm still excited to watch these women tear it up, man. Yep. I normally – like the top seeds normally advance, but it's fun to see the parity on that side as well. Some of the upsets, the LSU game was tough. I thought they were gonna go down as well, but just the competitive fire that these girls are bringing to the table. I'm loving Big Foe, Flau'jae from LSU. She's a tough one, man. Angel Reese, like you said, South Carolina, and the Horns. Let's not forget about the Horns, baby. We're still marching. Katie went to the game out there. So we balling.
I saw that,
yeah, the girls out. We lost our point guard at the beginning of the year. And so those girls bounced back. We moved our small forward to the point guard, and she been killing. And so I did a women's bracket as well. And
okay.
I took Texas all the way, baby.
Texas all the way in the women's bracket. I love that. Booby, I don't know if you were on Twitter, on social in your busy week in Houston and had the opportunity to watch what me, Dave, and our producer Ryan were doing in the lounge. Friday in the lounge, we had the women's games on, and we had South Carolina versus Presbyterian. It was a 1 versus 16. And on Tipico, we bet Presbyterian women to cover a spread of 54.5. So all they needed to do was not lose by 55. And it came all the way down to the end. They lost by, I think, 52 they lost by. But Presbyterian pulled through for us, man, and we won our bet.
That's pretty awesome.
We learned the Presbyterian Blue Hose is their team name.
Okay, yeah. No, I wasn't able to see it, man. I was running around H-Town.
There's some funny reaction videos. I'll say that.
I gotta check it out, man. I know y'all guys had a good time. I wanted to be there too. Are we still having more watch parties coming up?
For sure. When you get back, you just let us know, and we'll of course open door, throw some games on, and stream it.
For sure, baby. I'll be back soon, man. Don't leave your boy out, man. Some action, baby.
For sure. All right, let's talk about some of your Booby favorite moments and stories so far from this March Madness. We talked about Golke from Oakland hitting 10 threes against Kentucky. That was crazy. Of course, Yale knocking off Auburn, another big one. How about NC State in this run that they're on? This DJ Burns kid, I don't know if there's anybody in the tournament that could guard him, Booby.
Man, I'm saying we got the G-Wagon on our team. They got the Suburban, the big Cadillac coming down that thing for South Carolina. I mean, for NC State. And I'm loving it, man. That's what the tournament is. We have these characters that rise to the top and they're able to put on a show for March Madness, and that's what it's all about. So I'm enjoying them. They ran through the ACC tournament, which nobody expected, and that's kind of what happens when we say you don't want teams to peak too early. You want to be getting into your groove at the right time, and then it's even more meaningful in March Madness when it's one game and you out. So if you can get on a roll around this time of year and be playing your best basketball, who knows what can happen. So, man, shout out to those guys for seizing the moment and getting out there and getting some things done.
Yeah, especially for NC State too. You know, they came into the tourney, and the question coming into the first couple of games was going to be, you know, that conversation of, are they hot coming into the tournament, having won that conference title? Are they going to be exhausted? And I think they've proved thus far, including an overtime win now at this point, that they are A-OK, good to go. You know, in terms of rest, it doesn't really matter that much this time of year.
That's all us old guys in the NBA talk about rest and saving players. These are young guys that are thirsty for their opportunity, and some of these guys could be their last March Madness, their last games of their college careers, and so these guys want to play. And that brings me to another point. They was talking about teams not wanting to play in the NIT. I think that's so bad for college basketball because it's already so hard to get into the NCAA tournament alone. So there are going to be some teams that get left out. And on those teams, you have seniors and guys that have played their entire careers, and they don't want to end their career just because they didn't make the tournament. These guys want to play as much basketball as they can. So I've been hearing teams not want to show up for the NIT, and I think that's bad for the game, man. I think these kids deserve every opportunity to play that they can get.
Yeah, what'd you make of that? Especially too, now we're hearing, you know, from big name coaches, you know, Rick Pitino just rejecting an invite to the NIT. That definitely made some headlines for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm not rolling. I feel like that's a very selfish approach when you're thinking about these kids that have sacrificed all this time to play for you. And I hear he's a tough coach to play for. You know what I mean? And so they sacrifice all this for you, and then you take away an opportunity for them to play for another championship. they can a team can go on a run in the NIT as well and set themselves up for an NBA contract, or overseas contract, or even going into next year, build some type of momentum for the guys coming in. So I don't think I get it, but I don't think it's smart. I think it's a pretty selfish thing for coaches to do, to take that opportunity away from these kids that work so hard.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised to see that one come through, especially from a guy like Pedone that's been around the game for such a long time. You know, if anybody knows the value of added games, it's him, you know, and seeing guys, you know, even potentially transfer out of St. John's to bigger opportunities to have a shot at the NBA, or like you said, an overseas contract. A little bit weird.
Yeah, man, you can't be salty because you ain't make the NCAA tournament running around here. So I don't want to play. You the kid to take your ball from the court because you lost. Like, don't do that, man. Let these kids get out here and play, man. It's still college, right? We got the NIL, they getting paid, but it's still college. These guys are here. It still should be fun. It still should be an experience for these kids, and don't take that away from them.
Absolutely. We have more March Madness straight ahead. Who are Booby's top 3 remaining teams in the tournament? We'll answer that question on more when we return on Booby's World. Don't go anywhere. Welcome on back into Booby's World right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Pedone, joined by Daniel Booby Gibson from Houston, baby.
Hey, man, you see the smile, baby. You see the energy today is just on 10,000, man. I'm just so glad to be home. I hadn't got a chance to get home all year, Nick. So this is the first time I got to see my mom. So I'm on a cloud right now.
And we appreciate vacation mode, home mode, Booby, joining us on the show, of course.
I got to take care of my guys, though, whether I'm home or not, baby. I got to show up for the team, baby.
Booby doing it big for Big Play. Booby, all right, so we got to talk about this because we've now had the opportunity to see all of these teams play. So now we're going to rank our top 3 remaining teams left as the Sweet 16 will tip off Thursday and Friday this week. UConn, Iowa State, Illinois, San Diego State, UNC, Arizona, Alabama, Clemson, Houston, Marquette, Duke, NC State, Purdue, Tennessee, Creighton, and Gonzaga. Booby, of all those teams remaining, you know how this segment goes. Only 3 could remain in our Booby for 3 segment.
Ooh-wee. So somebody made a Roth. Roth would have got on this guy for this take for sure.
Okay.
Talking about UConn could make the Eastern Conference playoffs or something like that.
Yeah.
Stop playing.
So so can UConn compete in the NBA and make the play-in tournament on the Eastern Conference?
Don't do that. Don't disrespect these NBA players. Like, don't do that, because it's a fraternity in this league, man. I think people really need to understand just how hard it is to make it to the NBA. It's easier to win the lottery than it is to make it to the NBA. So people need to understand that these guys are the most elite talent of anywhere on earth. So I don't think these kids are very talented and they are great college players. But how many number 1 picks you see get to the NBA and it take them a while to become anything, right?
A bunch,
like
yeah.
The NBA is tough, man. So don't disrespect the league by saying stuff like that. I wish Roth was here to take this guy out for sure.
Yeah, it was Mike Greenberg on Get Up, you know, kind of threw that out there that UConn could compete in the Eastern Conference this season. Glad that Booby shut that down. They got
some pros on their team now. They do have some potential pros on their team, and they for sure in my top 3 as we pick our top 3 teams.
For sure.
I actually picked them on one of my brackets to repeat. I know it's hard to do in college basketball, so I picked them to repeat. I feel like they have the team to do it, and they've added guys. So they're for sure in my top 3.
All right.
I'll go next. Let's go with North Carolina.
Okay.
I like North Carolina. I like what they're doing out there. I feel like they've had a great year all around in a tough conference. So I think they prepared to finish strong. And this hurts me to say from my core, because they beat up on us this year, and I went to the University of Texas. But I'm a rock with the Cougars, man. The fact that they scored 100 last night, knowing how hard they play defense and how well they rebound, if they can add scoring to what they do, I feel for any team that got to play against those guys because they lock you up and they beat you up all game. So you got to be prepared for those Cougars. So shout out to my pops, man. He's over here watching the game. I had put a big smile on his face because he played at the University of Houston, and so he feels like those guys are gonna take it home this year.
Okay, that's definitely a good one for sure. It was surprising to see that 100-point performance, and if they could do even a fraction of that on a consistent basis throughout these next few games,
Yeah.
Pops has a chance, man, to see
please don't hype him up over here. Please don't.
That would
no more. You don't need no more juice.
That would definitely be something. I gotta say, Booby, I'm a little surprised. No love for Purdue and Zach Edey, the big boy. That, man, a lot of free throws. I gotta say, a lot of free throws. I know that's not your favorite.
I love the big fella, man, but it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to watch. But I just think that obviously he's a force the teams have to deal with. And in NCAA, he never has to leave the paint. He could just hang out in the paint all day, especially defensively. And so they're going to be a tough out. But I think that it does cause some problems, though, on the perimeter. If you get teams get them moving around a little bit, I feel like you can get those guys in some trouble. So we'll see. I know he's a force. And at this time of the tournament, got single players can move you rounds. So if he's able to get his team through to the next round, I wouldn't be surprised. You know my sleeper though, Nikki P.
Let's hear it.
I don't want to go Roth and add a fourth team.
That's fine. A sleeper does not count as a fourth.
Pick a sleeper. I just love Creighton, man. I just love what they're doing. I just love the Blue Jays. I love the kid. I don't know his name. The lefty, 55, I believe. Yeah. He got game. I think he'll be a pro. And I just think they play really well together. They play great basketball. And when those seniors around this time of year, it's tough to beat that experience. So I think Creighton is like a dark horse. If I had to pick a team that's like not favorite, I would go Creighton Blue Jays to make a Cinderella run.
I like that. That was a team that I had in my Final Four. So you got on me a little bit at the beginning of the show because I picked Kentucky. Hey, Nick, but I did have Creighton in my Final Four.
Hold the phone, Nick. What is your Final Four? Because I'm like, you have Kentucky, Creighton,
Arizona, and UConn.
Okay, that's not that bad. At least UConn's there. Like, Arizona's still a stretch.
Yeah.
But I was trying to figure out what you was swinging for the fences, wasn't you?
Yeah, because I'm in a big pool, man, and I'm like, I got to do something to stand out. I got to do something to try to swing big and win this thing. You don't get anything for being in second or third, so I was like, I got to go all out,
So you just gonna random, huh? You just gonna pick numbers out, pick teams out of a hat.
Not random. I thought Kentucky had a good coach and a lot of good young recruits, and then. Yeah, with Creighton, I just liked all the shooters. It's hard to go wrong when you got a bunch of dudes that have played college basketball and they could shoot the ball.
For sure, man. I'm giving you a hard time.
All good.
With the Kentucky pick, but absolutely, man. I want to say is my Final Four still intact. I think I might be going strong, but I mean, I did it the complete opposite from you. I went with the number ones. I picked with all the teams that we expected to get there with good records. It normally never happens, but hey, I went with mostly number one. I'm trying to think of who my last one is. I know it's UConn, Carolina. I don't know. I believe it's Houston, but I got to check my bracket because I did too. I don't want to mix them up.
That's what I'm saying. And I mean, now at this point, especially with Kentucky being in my championship, I'm all the way now at the bottom. And the first round, they say take some 12s over some 5s, and I just picked them all wrong. I had McNeese over Gonzaga, which was dumb, and didn't have Oakland.
McNeese had that would have been a good pick.
That's what I'm saying. 30-win team.
Scouting round, Sharif Cooper. Shout out to Reef. His little brother plays for McNeese State, so I was able to. His twin brother, so I was able to check those guys out. So they had a great run this year, so that's a good pick. But I picked the kid. I picked the Grand Canyon.
Greg Booby, that one sold my parlay, and that was late here in Cleveland. So I'm sweating a parlay at like 1:30 at night, and Grand Canyon absolutely dominated St. Mary's in that game. Ruined my parlay. I stayed up all day watching 1:30 at night. I'm in my living room pissed off at Grand Canyon.
Well, I picked that in my bracket. Again, from the scout, there was a kid on that team. He had 2 heart surgeries, man. And I had been following them all year. And to see him show up in that moment again, That's what March Madness is all about. He got out there and did his thing. I want to say he had 22 points that night, and it's been a long road for that kid. So I picked them hoping that they could get it done, and they showed me they got it done for you, boy.
All right, cool. I had a pick that I got right. We got to step aside. I'll unveil that pick and see if you pick this team too. It was another high seed that was a big upset, and it was the one that I was actually very confident about, and I was glad to see it right. I'll tell you who it is when we return on Booby's World. Don't go anywhere. Welcome on back into Booby's World right here on the Big Play Network. I'm Nick Pedone. He is Daniel Booby Gibson, talking a little bit of March Madness all through our brackets, the picks, the upsets. And before the break, I was telling Booby about a team that I was very confident about. I had told the entire Big Play office about. There was a lot of pressure on me, Booby, to get this prediction right, and it was James Madison, the Dukes, in the first round. That was awesome.
That's a good one. Hey, I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot. I got that one. I got that one with you, Nick. I rode with them again. Being out on this scouting circuit, man, I get to see a lot of college basketball. And another one I'm gonna throw out there for y'all: Jay Biggerstaff, Coach Biggerstaff's nephew is on that roster, and I was able to see them play at the beginning of the year, and they balled out. You know who's balling to is Duke.
They do look good.
They look good.
Man, and Bickerstaff's nephew is kind of he's nice. He had a great game.
He got some game. I gave him a nice write-up, and it wasn't biased. I didn't do it just because I wanted to get JV's good graces. I did it because the kid he had a few great games this year. I want to say maybe a 20-20 game like that, some along those lines, but he's not a big guy. So it's always just skill and finesse, and he gets out there and he plays hard. So man, shout out to the Bickerstaff.
When you're looking at that, especially in the college game, you get so many of these characters, right? And that are really good and really talented, but the skill set might not translate to the next level. I remember Booby last year when we were doing this show and we were just getting it started. My dad was the world's biggest Drew Timme fan from Gonzaga. Yeah. He was trying to tell me that if the Cavs got Drew Timme and played him in that K-Love role, that all of the Cavs ailments and everything would be cured, that Drew Timme was the answer. And I was trying to explain to him, I'm like, dude, just because he's really good in college, that never really kind of takes shape at the next level. Yeah. How hard is that, though, when you're scouting to actually put those thoughts into writing, when you're doing these write-ups? Like, yes, this kid might jump off the game tape, but it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. Nah, I mean, you try to give them some grace, understanding that they have to work to get to a certain point, and you kind of write your notes as if the kid does the work, this is what he could potentially be, and you try to think of it like that. And I kind of give it, for me, I've seen so much basketball. So normally when I watch a guy, I can see somebody from the past or some other player, some version of that guy in that player. Yeah. And that's kind of what I take when it comes to my scouting or the potential of what I think a player could be. And I evaluate it from there. And I also evaluate it from where they are, right? So I'm not thinking about them being a pro right now. I'm like, at the college level, this is what they do. But I know in the pros, there'll be more space. They'll be playing with better players. So there's a lot of things that go into like how you identify potential. But I give these guys a lot of grace in trying to figure out what they'll be at the next level. I write a lot of good reports for the guys. I will say.
That's good.
I'm never dragging guys. If I don't, even if a guy doesn't play well, in most cases, it's one game, right? So I try to give a guy full scope and just see who that player is overall. And even if they have a bad game, I'll say like, he didn't shoot the ball well tonight, but his shot still looks like it could translate to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hear too, this goes across sports, right? Like I think about like the Browns press conferences that I've sat through my career, and Andrew Barry talks about all the time, with the Browns taking into a consideration a player's full body of work. What have they done, throughout their career to this point, instead of, just kind of picking out here and there, good game here, good game there, that kind of thing. So
because I feel like that's when you could really mess up your scout. If you go to a game and a kid just has a bad game, right? That game. And you go rip him, and you go back to your point. Oh yeah, this kid is terrible. Worst kid I ever watched, right? but then from that game, he makes adjustments. and comes back and does all of the things that you expect. But that's what I feel like real scouting is, and that's what I love. I love being able to watch these kids for an entire season and continue to add my notes all year round as to their development, because that kind of tells me the type of kid it is. It's never for me based on one performance. Even if it's a great performance, I still don't get it. I'm not too high or too low. I just kind of take it with a grain of salt and watch an entire season before I make a full assessment of a kid.
Love it. Great insight there on what the behind the scenes scouting piece looks like for some of your current Cleveland Cavaliers and Charge players that Booby took a look at on their way up. Hey, we got to step aside one final time. More of Booby's World right after this. Welcome on back into Booby's World. Final segment as we wrap the show. Get Booby back into his hometown, home state of Houston, Texas.
And I wanted to catch you too, but it's the perfect time because I left my charge at the crib and it just popped up that my Mac could sleep. So I want to tell it, just in case I magically disappear, I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. And Nikki P, we still good. We could go to the buzzer sounds, but I didn't want to fade on you and you'd be like, where did Booby go? It just popped up on my screen.
There you go.
I'm gonna push it to the end, baby.
There you go. Behind the scenes, we are keeping the show alive until Booby's MacBook dies here on Booby's World. That's a lot of fun.
Hey, you never know what can happen in Booby's World, baby. We're gonna keep it real until we're gonna let you know step by step.
Absolutely. And it'll be nice to have you and Raf back into the fold. Like we were talking about, man, brutal stretch for our Cavs here on this West Coast trip. 14 games in 14 different cities for our Cleveland Cavaliers. And you know, Raf, who's traveling around with the team broadcasting these games in Spanish, boy, say a prayer for our guy because he is going to be exhausted when he gets back here in Cleveland after this West Coast trip.
Hey Nick, it ain't like he's still going to LA. He's still getting some good. I ain't gonna give him that much love now. He's still going to some great cities. He's going to Phoenix. He's gonna get some sun out there.
Yeah, for sure. And he could hit some of my food spots out there too. Get some sugar fish out there in LA. Yeah, Ralph will be all right.
Don't take it easy on Ralph, man. But shout out to Ralph for getting out there and getting it done. It will be a tough trip. But again, back to what we said, man. These guys will get to build. These guys will get to get out there and compete in playoff intensity and just prepare themselves for the playoff. For this playoff push. And I'm hoping that we can get our guys healthy, get our guys out there on the floor so that we can get some rhythm and we can develop some chemistry. And guys could just get into who they are, get to feeling their best self when the playoffs come, because that's really all you want. And this will be a tough test and a tough stretch for us. But to your point, it's at the perfect time for us to build. And if we can win some games and build some camaraderie, look out, because now we'll be rolling into the playoffs with that right mind frame. So again, fans, calm down, because if we're going to run right here, we'll be in a perfect position to make some noise come the postseason.
Yeah, we are in a good spot. I like where we're at. Talking with Booby always makes you feel better about our Cavs as they get ready to go on this big West Coast trip. After this week, you know we'll have it covered for you guys next week on Booby's World. In the meantime, make sure to show us a little love, man, on the Instagram machine, on the YouTube machine, the Twitter machine, wherever you listen to the show. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our viewers at Bally Sports as well. Booby, quick one for you as we wrap up. Best part about West Coast road trips, is it the weather, is it the camaraderie, or is it the food that you could get out there out west?
The weather, the wind. No, it's fair. For sure the food, but most of all, man, the camaraderie, man, being able to be out there with the guys. And you get to hang out together. That was the part what I was about to say, man. It's just really good times when you get to go out on the road with the guys, because you do have days off in between games to be able to enjoy yourself and go find fun things to do. So I say it's the camaraderie and, absolutely the women and the men, got to throw it in there a little bit, Nikki P.
Absolutely. We'll leave that there for Booby's World. He is Daniel Booby Gibson. I'm Nick Pedone. We will see you guys next week right here on the Big Play Network.